what an opportunity for us as CEOs to step up and lean in. Because at the end of the day, in times like this, the attention pivots to the leader with the certainty. And remember, after the crisis, people are going to remember how you led and what you said.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
We're super excited to be reconnected with you here today. Man, what an incredible time. What an incredible time to be alive. What an incredible time to be in business. What an incredible time to be a CEO. Dr. Pete, you and I just had a little conversation offline here that this will be a time that will go down in history. This will be a reference point. This will be an inflection point in everyone's life. You know, as we are in the throes of this, as we're in the middle of this, I don't know, I'm finding comfort in knowing that this is not a New Hampshire thing. This is not a chiropractic thing. This is not an America thing. This is a global thing. This is impacting everybody.
Yeah, it is absolutely impacting everybody, which makes this conversation that we're about to have today incredibly relevant. Because as business owners and business leaders are navigating through this time, and you know, I work with and talk with business owners outside of chiropractic, as I know you do as well, Doc. We have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs and own companies and own businesses, and I'm in regular communication with them. And no one is immune of this. Everyone is exposed. Construction industries, hospitality industries, teaching industries, consulting industries, financial. So everybody is involved. And so they are looking for and going to be looking for, as we come out of this, is they're going to be looking for people like you, as you're listening to this, people like you to come alongside of them to help them get their business through this reactivation and mobilization phase, right? Because this same exact strategy, Doc, that we've laid out for you is exactly what every business needs to be doing, right? If you shared, hey, this is what I'm doing for my practice with your friends in your town who are business owners, they'd be like, that's really good. I need to write that down. I need to do that because it applies. It's across the board. Stabilize, reactivate, and mobilize.
Yeah, as I hear you speaking, man, all I can think about is this is like the ideal metaphor. When you look at this COVID crisis and this novel virus that shows up, one thing we know to be true is that this is a highly contagious virus because it's a novel virus, but it's dangerous to a very specific group of people, and that's the immunocompromised. And there's a big difference between contagious and dangerous, right? So when it comes to your health, it's dangerous to the people that are immunocompromised, right? So these are the people that are really at risk. These are the people that are really exposed, right? So the same thing can be true to when we look at your business. When this crisis comes through, and it is a global crisis, everyone's going to be exposed, right? So everybody is going to, it's contagious. It's not passing over anyone, right? So everybody's going to be exposed to this virus. The question is it dangerous to you, right? So, everybody's going to be taking a hit. Don't get me wrong. So everybody's feeling it, but at the end of the day, it's going to be devastating to certain people, and it's going to be those people that are compromised, right? So those businesses that are compromised. So the question is, Doc, is your business being exposed right now? And what are you learning about this exposure? Where do you see the rubs? Where do you see the breakdown? Where do you see some collapse? Let's learn from this. CEOs recognize that it's not win or lose, it's win or learn. What are we learning from this situation right now? And let's embrace the blessing in that. It's wow, this stress, the only way to test a system is to stress it. Stressing my system right now, it's really revealing right now. And we want to learn from that, eyes wide open, right? So, I know I'm the pathological optimist, but I show up to any scenario and be like, wow, okay, so what did we learn from that disaster, right? So let's use this. Let's not let it go to waste. So as we look at this 3-part program that we've laid out for you guys, this Phoenix plan, man, we've been talking about this 3-month track to get your business, your practice back on track and take it to the next level. This 3-stage or 3-phase approach. The first phase was all about stabilization, and that's really where we dedicated ourselves from March and into April. April was about taking action on stabilization, stabilize your business. Then it's all about reactivation as we move into phase 2, which May is all about reactivation, doubling back and going to get your people. Here we go. We're moving into phase 3. June's going to be all about mobilization, which is about getting back to the marketplace, getting back to marketing, getting outside of your practice, stepping out into your community as the dust begins to settle. Crazy's become the new normal. Here's what I know, Dr. Pete. All the business owners, the thought leaders, the decision makers in our community, they're just like you and I, right? They're just like all the doctors listening to us right now. We're sick and tired of having empty businesses, right? Empty restaurants and empty gyms, empty stadiums, empty churches, empty schools. Sick and tired of it, right? And here's what I know. Those people are going to be stepping forward and being like, yeah, you know what? I'm over it and I'm ready to get back into action. Let's get back to it. And let's get back to creating value, delivering value, adding value, and capturing value. The community is going to be looking for a better way to deal with this. They're going to look for better strategies and a better plan.
You know, the thing that's coming to my mind is I'm thinking about empty churches and empty stadiums. I literally am having these visions in my mind. And a lot of us, you know, you have this vision in your mind. There's this emptiness all around, empty schools, churches, businesses. Is that as a business owner, the first thing that needs to happen is they need to get stabilized themselves, and then they need to stabilize their team and their organization. And so our phase 3 plan of mobilization actually meets those businesses right where they're at right now, which is they need to stabilize and they need to reactivate so they can be mobilizing, right? So your actual mobilization of yourself is actually going to help them strategically stabilize, because they're not in your world. They're not in our world of healthcare. They're not in this space where we're thinking about, you know, we understand there's 3 levels of healthcare. You've got disease treatment, disease prevention, and disease and health promotion. They're not living necessarily in that space. And so when you show up, we're going to be talking about how do we go about meeting with decision makers and what are the next steps that we take there, that you're meeting them where they're at, which is things are a little bit unstable. I need to stabilize my business. And by you showing up, you're actually coming in and you're going to help them stabilize their business so they can more confidently navigate the future. Because we know that there's going to be a new normal moving forward from here, right? We know things are going to be different. We have to embrace that. And business owners and leaders are aware of this. They're thinking that way. Like, how are we going to be doing business now and moving forward into the future? Well, the information that we bring them about health and how they can be building more health within their community, in their own organization, setting their organization up for success, is going to give them the confidence they need to then mobilize and get themselves and their business back out into the community up and running. And so this is going to have an effect that's going to be a ripple effect, a positive effect for their business. And so, you know, we think about when you break out of your business, right? We talk about in our offices, the breakout and the break in to avoid the breakup, right? So you go through this process. Right now, everything has been kind of broken up. But as you break out of your office in the mobilization phase, the phoenix rises out of this situation, and you show up to a conversation with a business leader right now who's feeling a little bit broken and broken up. Like, what are we going to do? You're going to be one of the first people that's going to come to them that's going to have a real strategy and a plan for them to bring things together and to start stabilizing and reactivating their people and getting things moving forward. So see yourself as somebody who is going to add tremendous value to the business leaders in your community at this time, because they absolutely need you now more than ever before. We'll be back to my conversation with Dr. Stephen right after this. Hey, Doc, we've got great news for you. The Remarkable Attraction Immersion, originally planned for Melbourne, is now happening online May 1st and 2nd. In response to the COVID-19 coronavirus situation and ensuing restrictions on travel, hotels, gatherings, and restaurants, we are moving the awesome Remarkable Attraction Immersion online, live,
and virtual. We've created an awesome event, highly relevant, addressing the concerns, questions, and needs that you and your team are facing right now. And we also know that this too will pass. And we're going to get you ready to step into the gap and be prepared and ready to seize the opportunity that you will be facing in your community over the next few months. The same awesome TRP coaches will follow the same Remarkable Practice live event program schedule. Get your team together at your office or home or offsite and hunker down for a value-packed weekend of training. You will be ready to take action immediately, even if your practice is closed. Join us for this incredible virtual live event. Roberto Monaco is coming alongside Dr. Franson, all the TRP coaches, to teach this seminar through the weekend. If you don't know Roberto, he's the premier undisputed heavyweight champ of influential and persuasive speaking in chiropractic. We have a program in place so that you're fully equipped to have the answers. Register now for the virtual live Remarkable Attraction Immersion event May 1st and 2nd and save over 65%. To grab this special deal, go to www.theremarkablepractice.com/events/AUS-attraction. Again, that's www.theremarkablepractice.com/events/AUS-attraction. Don't pass up on this deal because it ends May 1st. Grab your team and we'll see you online. And now back to my conversation with Dr. Steven.
We're going to take it all the way back to our marketing premise, our attraction premise, right? Which is that your attraction is a reflection of your certainty, right? So when, Dr. Pete, I love what you're saying here, is like when you show up into a marketplace that is just languishing, that's reeling in confusion and chaos, right? And you show up and you have this level of certainty, it's incredibly attractive, right? So as you step into this crowded and confused marketplace, like if you look at what they've been hearing for the last 2 months, by the time you're meeting them 2-3 months, right? So listen, they've been dealing with this situation where everybody's talking about the treatment of disease, right? Which is about keeping people from dying. And then they've been talking about the prevention of disease, right? Which is, washing your hands, cleaning the surfaces, social distancing. Nobody's talking about that third level of care, right? Which is the promotion of health, which is our blue ocean, right? So the truth is that these business owners, these decision makers that have these empty restaurants and empty theaters and empty stadiums, empty churches, empty schools, they've about had it. And they're going to stop and they're going to say, listen, after $2.6 trillion a year, every year spent on healthcare, the best game plan you've come up with so far is, number one, stay home and hide and wash your hands. Number two, no hugs and high fives. Number three, hope and pray we find a vaccination, right? So that's your plan, okay? So they're going to be looking for a better plan because at the end of the day, they're going to get to a place where they can't do this again. Right? So listen to the way I said that. They can't do this again. We know there's going to be another virus. There's one every year, right? This is a particular badass virus. I get it. But you know what? Every business owner is saying the same thing right now. This can't be the new normal. I can't do this again. It's not I don't want to do this again. They're saying I can't do this again. I can't take another torpedo hit. And that is literally going to be the framework of the decision makers. I want you guys to listen to the term I'm using here when I talk about business owners. They're the decision maker. They're the person that decides whether they're going to let you get in front of their people or not. They're the person that's going to decide on the plan. What are the plan we have moving forward? And a lot of the people you're going to talk to, they don't have a plan at this point. So when you show up with your certainty, and you have a plan, and that plan is, hey, you know what? Enough with the talk of the disease treatment, enough of the talk of the disease prevention. Everybody's got that covered. I want to talk to you about a new way, a better way, and that is the promotion of health, because you have already figured out that you've got to do something that mitigates your risk and reduces your exposure, because you cannot do this again.
So remember, it's plan, prepare, execute, assess. As the CEO, your focus is what's important now It's taking the energy of your team, right? Their time, energy, focus, and money, and harnessing those resources and focusing them. So when do we enter into the mobilization phase as a CEO, determining what's important next? During the reactivation phase. So remember, this is happening during the month of May for you, because it's the planning and the preparing time for you as a CEO. So when do these conversations begin? These begin in the month of May. When the marketplace opens back up, when I say the marketplace, I mean when things start opening back up and people start going back to living life, whatever that's going to look like, no one right now knows. But when that happens, you should have already been there having these conversations with the decision makers, with the leaders, before everything really starts going. That's plan and prepare. So that when people actually start showing back up to work, you're already there, booked to meet with their team, to meet with their company. You're already got things set up, the workshop set up, so that when they come back, the CEO looks like a genius to the team who he has employed, because they're like, it's our first day or week back in the office. He had this expert come in and actually teach us all this amazing stuff. So I was a little bit worried. My spouse was worried with me going back to work, thinking, is it going to be okay? And immediately I showed up and there was this amazing workshop. This leader, this doctor was in, teaching us all these concepts and showing us exactly what we need to be doing to strengthen ourselves as a host. I have such great confidence. I love working here. I love working for this person because they're so smart. They brought in this leader. That's how you're positioning it as you're stepping in. So remember, it's plan, prepare, execute, assess. So we plan and prepare. That's what's important next in phase 2, which is during the reactivation. So as we're going through the reactivation of our MIAs, as we're executing on that, during that time is when we are, as the CEO, doing what's important next, which is planning and preparing for mobilization, which again is going to start with looking at the relationships, right? We're in relationship business, the relationships that we've built with those decision makers.
Okay, let's take a quick break and talk about Chiro Matchmakers.
Chiro Matchmakers will help you find the right person for the job. If you're looking to hire the ideal chiropractic assistant, Chiro Matchmakers will help you find the specific person missing from your team so that you can get back to using your talents to serve more people. Or if you're looking to hire the ideal associate doctor, CMM can help. Chiro Matchmakers helps chiropractors like you find the ideal associate doctor to unlock your practice potential and get you the freedom that you desire. To learn more, go to chiromatchmakers.com.
And now let's jump right back into our conversation.
So this is a real situation. So let's bring it real time. So if you're listening to this doc right now and you're saying to yourself, okay, here I am, I find myself in Q2 2020. And we agreed the best way to build your business in 2020 is going to be make sure it doesn't shrink too much in Q2 2020, right? So in March, we talked about getting ready for April, right? Which was the beginning of Q2. So now in April, we were focused on stabilizing the business. That's where you put all the time, energy, focus, and money. Your resources were directed. Your team was directed. Let's stabilize the business. Meanwhile, you were, as a CEO, thinking about what was going on next. So the next month is going to be May, right? And May is going to be the reactivation month. You're already planning and preparing for May. So when your team and you move into May, guess what? You're still executing stabilization, but now you're executing reactivation. But you as the CEO, now you shift into June because you are thinking about what's coming up next and you're doing planning, preparing for what's going to happen in June, which is the mobilization stage, right? So if you're listening to this right now in May, Doc, you are thinking about, you're planning and preparing for June, right? So this is where you start having to go through your lead list and say, okay, so I need to start getting some leads together, right? So I need to look at my hot leads, my warm leads, my cold leads. And I think that discussion is probably outside of the scope of this conversation, but from a high level, guys, hot leads are people that these are decision makers who you already have a relationship with. Most likely they're patients of yours already. These are people that know you, like you, and trust you already. And they are the decision makers. They can say yes or no, whether you can get in front of their people or not. and deliver your message. Then there's warm leads, which are people that you meet in a networking environment, whether it's a formal networking event, like a Chamber of Commerce event, or it's an informal networking event, like out to lunch somewhere or at a cocktail party or a barbecue or what have you, right? So wherever you've met somebody, you've been introduced to somebody at church or what have you, they're a decision maker, right? So that's a warm lead. And then a cold lead is somebody that you reach out to and you approach either by referencing their website or you know that they're a big company in town, whatever, and you don't have a relationship with them yet. This is the time when you start gathering that and organizing that, right? This is the time when you make sure that you have your systems in place. Maybe you have a new business development person that's going to it could help facilitate this and work on the outreach with you, putting together scripting, process, trainings around that. And this is when you start getting your message together and start getting your content together. And we're going to suggest that you get in the conversation that everyone's having, but nobody's having. Okay. And that's the Bulletproof Your Immune System workshop, right? So, Bulletproof Your Immune System, this is where you get to talk about that third tier, that third level of healthcare that no one's discussing, right? Which is the promotion of health. Guys, this is where it's our opportunity to change the conversation. If you're like me, you're probably sick and tired of the conversation that everybody's having at this point, right? Because everybody is focused on the strength of the virus, right? So that's the conversation everybody's having. It's time to change the conversation from the strength of the virus to the strength of the host. And once you make that shift and make that switch, and what we recognize is that when it comes to the strength of the virus, we have no influence there. Whereas with the strength of the host, we have total influence. So we have total influence there. We can actually take action. This is where it becomes actionable. This is where we can have a start doing, stop doing list of strategies and tactics. We can claw back control and claw back influence. And this is exactly what the business leader is going to be starving for. They're going to be looking for somebody who has a better way that could empower their people and help them reduce their risk and mitigate their exposure.
So, Doc, this is such a critical conversation because what we're actually talking about right now is marketing. We're actually saying over these past few months, marketing has been a little bit of a, it's not been an option. I mean, if you're in the chiropractic industry specifically, your state board has issued you a very specific, proclamation that's saying you cannot market right now, essentially, right? I mean, so you have not had the opportunity to do what you can do now. And that's where, again, as you are entering back into the marketplace, as you begin to market, let's say you're starting to run your virtual ads again, you're starting to put yourself out there. That's great. Start doing that. But we're talking right now specifically about leveraging the relationships with key leaders, decision makers in your community. You may have not done this before, okay? So this may be something completely new to you, but you have an opportunity. Doc, you said it before. It's a blue ocean right now. There's an opportunity for you. You may have never done corporate talks, right? So somebody listening to this podcast, you may be listening saying, I've never spoken at a business. I've never spoken at a church. I've never spoken at a corporation before. Hey, listen, that's okay. What we're saying is now is your opportunity. Now is your opportunity. And that's why this may be one of the biggest gifts that you've received, because you may have felt the conviction that says, I feel like I need to be in the marketplace. Maybe health screenings I've done in the past, but I don't really, that's not my thing, but I need to be getting out into the community, but I'm just doing some social, but I know I need to be in the marketplace. This is your opportunity. Remember, there's 3 tributaries: external, internal, and digital marketing. So what are you going to be doing in each one of these tributaries right now as you mobilize in your business to grow your business moving forward so you continue on your trajectory towards your 2020 goals? Well, this is an external strategy we're talking about. And there's a few different ways we can do this, Doc. Number one is you can actually do this live and in person in the business, or you can actually do this as a webinar. You can actually do it right there. So this actually speeds up the time with which you could actually pull this off. Because if the business is not, let's say, willing to or able to have you come physically into the space, maybe they don't have all their people back and that doesn't make sense right now, you could actually position it as a virtual webinar where if they're working remotely still or a portion of the team is not back yet, this gives you an opportunity to reach their team even in a way where you wouldn't have maybe thought of doing it before. So there's going to be some new opportunities for you to get in front of people. So start thinking about this as an opportunity that you maybe have never seized before, but right now is being handed to you. It's literally being handed to us. And you have a great opportunity to capitalize on this and position yourself for the long game as a leader in your community with these key decision makers.
Yeah. And for anybody who just has a tendency to stop and think for the second, oh, well, I can't do that because, social distancing, nobody's getting together and we can't do outside talks. You've got to break your limited thinking on this, and you've got to get into a creative space and you ask the question, what's the pivot? How can we adapt so that we can still deliver value and capture value, right? So you make a simple pivot from doing an in-person live event to doing either a virtual live event, or you do it as a webinar, as a recording, what have you, do a dedicated version of this workshop. Just this morning, I was on the phone with one of the largest companies in the world, a multinational company, who I'm going to be doing a dedicated webinar series, this Bulletproof Your Immune System. I'm going to be doing this for them in Hong Kong for their 1,700 employees. I mean, this is a pivot, right? So it's turn. I'm not going to jump on a plane and fly there. I'm actually just going to deliver it digitally, right? So deliver it virtually to them. So think outside the box. How do you leverage technology so that you can continue to do our job, which is to educate the people, right? So educate and adjust is your job description, just like mine. So ultimately it comes down to how do we create value? How do we deliver value? How do we add value, and how do we capture value? There's an audience of people that are dying for you to show up and show them a better way to better health. Look, Doc, if you're looking to learn more about this Bulletproof Your Immune System workshop, this webinar, and how you can deliver this type of value, I'm going to invite you. There's a link down here below where you can learn more around how you get your hands on this content. And because we want to equip you, we want to empower you, we want to help you knock down those barriers to getting back out into the community. Guys, it's going to be time now to mobilize. It's going to be time now to take back territory. We've gone through this 3-stage process of the Phoenix Plan. Month 1 was about stabilizing your business. Month 2 is about reactivating your patients that have dropped out of care during this corona crisis. Here we go. We're ready for phase 3, stage 3, third month. We're ready to mobilize and get back out into our communities and share this message that everybody just so desperately needs. God calls us to be market makers. He calls us to be covenant keepers and territory takers. What an opportunity for us as CEOs to step up and lean in. Because at the end of the day, in times like this, the attention pivots to the leader with the certainty. And remember, after the crisis, people are going to remember how you led and what you said.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.